Hello citizens of time and space. Today, August 17th, in history. Today's event from pre-modern history is when Cesare Borgia, a Catholic cardinal and son of Pope Alexander VI, resigned from his position, becoming the first cardinal to ever do so, on this day in 1498 Anno Domini. In Borgia's case, he traded his church position for a station more worldly, being named the Duke of Valentinois by King Louis XII of France this very same day. Borgia spent the next few years as the commander of the church's armies in his father's conquest of Italian lands, proving himself to be a cunning and skilled general. Following his father's death in 1503, Cesare Borgia found himself without the support and protection of the papacy. He embarked on a series of military campaigns in an effort to carve out his own principality. One of his most notable achievements was the conquest of the Romagna region, where he implemented administrative reforms and centralized control. However, his methods were ruthless, involving treachery and cruelty to eliminate his rivals. The philosopher Niccolò Machiavelli was a visitor in his court during this period, and Borgia's ruthless pursuit of power in his conquest of Romagna was one of the inspirations behind Machiavelli's book entitled The Prince, which is one of the most prominent works of political philosophy ever written. To solidify his position, Borgia strengthened his alliance with King Louis XII of France by leading the French forces in Louis's conquest of the Kingdom of Naples, ultimately leading them to victory. However, Borgia's alliances were fragile, and his relationships with his allies often soured due to his ruthless methods and pursuit of personal gain. He often turned on and imprisoned or executed rivals or his own allies, and even assassinated his own brother Giovanni Borgia. Cesare Borgia was eventually captured by the Spanish in 1504, spending over 2 years as a prisoner. After his release, Borgia attempted to regain his former status, but his efforts were in vain. His enemies had multiplied, and his former allies were now his rivals. In 1507, he faced defeat at the hands of the League of Cambrai, a coalition of European powers that sought to curb his influence. The League's victory marked the end of Cesare Borgia's political ambitions, and ultimately the end of his life. The tale of Cesare Borgia's life remains a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked ambition, and the complexities of wielding power in a tumultuous political landscape, and has inspired or intrigued readers of philosophy, fiction, and history for centuries, and has more recently captivated the audiences of film and television programs based on his story and that of his family. Today's event from modern history, meaning for our purposes after the year 1500, is the publication of Animal Farm, the novella by English writer George Orwell. The novella is a political allegory grounded in the Russian Revolution of 1917, and the subsequent rise of Joseph Stalin's totalitarian regime. The book tells a story of a group of farm animals overthrowing their human owner to create a new society based on equality, only for it to degenerate into a new form of oppression. The early ideals of equality and cooperation that the animals adopt on the farm parallel the ideological principles of communism which inspired the Russian Revolution. However, the pig's evolving distortion of these ideals illustrates how power corrupts, leading to a new power structure which mirrors the oppression of the original regime. The pig's transformation from champions of equality into self-interested politicians reflects how the ideals of the Russian Revolution were contradicted in Stalin's rise to power. The pig's alliance with the humans, whom they initially rebelled against, mirrors Stalin's alliances with capitalist states despite his public ideological commitment to communism. The manipulation of information and communication by the pigs, especially through the propagandist pig called Squealer, mirrors the weaponization and strategic communication of information in totalitarian regimes. The continual changing of stories, and the distortion of facts, highlight how malevolent totalitarian regimes control narratives to attain and maintain their power. Animal Farm's themes and messages extend beyond the specific historical context of the Russian Revolution. Through its portrayal of the farm's descent into chaos, tyranny and oppression, the story of Animal Farm serves as a message of warning about the dangers of totalitarianism in all its forms. Orwell's intention was to warn readers about the potential for any political movement to devolve into malevolent totalitarianism, regardless of the supposed or actual idealism on which it may be founded. Animal Farm has become a classic work of literature that continues to be discussed and studied in coffee shops and classrooms around the world. Its themes and messages have driven thought and discussion about political power, personal liberty, just societies, and the dangers of totalitarianism. The novella remains a powerful reminder of the potential of revolutionary movements began with well-intentioned ideals, to turn into the very kinds of dangerous and oppressive forces which they initially set out to overthrow. That was today, August 17th in history. I hope your day today is brilliant as we all move forwards by looking backwards.